Hi, welcome to Working Horses with Jim. Jim's coming in the driveway. He's been up in the woods logging this morning and he's home for lunch. And today we're going to talk about what he's going to be feeding the horses for lunch and his top 5 feeding tips for horses. So join us to hear them all.
Ready to get in there. Get to the barn. Guess they don't want any water. So, I've had a lot of people ask about feeding horses, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. But first, let me just unharness these horses. I just came home from the woods, and then we'll talk about feeding. When I am harnessing these horses, maybe you might want to know. So I'll pull their collars off, grab the reins by my left hand like this, drag it back. As they come back, I kind of give the britch and the whole thing just kind of a bit of a twist. It comes right off, I throw it up on my shoulder, hang it in place. And then go back and get the collar. Had a lead rope from her. Collars always hang upside down on the hook. So then I'll do Bill. Get a Bill. Make sure it hits the belly grip first. If you don't, you could have some trouble. Collars go off over the heads, with the sweat pads staying on. Okay, so I'll brush and talk at the same time. I can talk better while I work. But I'll stop some. So, feeding. There are 5 things about feeding that I'd like to talk about, and I'm going to go from the least to the most important. To me, of course this is all just my idea, it may not be what everybody feels, but it is for me. So, one thing, the number 5 is being consistent. Being consistent to feed at the same time, morning, same time at night. Pretty consistently, same time. Now, I don't always feed 3 times a day, but when they're working, they get fed 3 times a day. The noon hour, same, isn't quite so important in my opinion, but still, the consistency, especially in the morning and night, are very important. So that's number 5. Number 4 is I feed ear corn. I'm putting that at number 4 because I don't feed ear corn year round. I just feed that during the winter months. I am still feeding it right now, but I think this week will probably be the last week that I feed ear corn for 2 reasons. I'm almost out of ear corn, and The ear corn tends to make the horses a little hotter. And as we go into summer months, I want to keep them cool, not hot. So I will use the ear corn just during the winter months generally. So that's number 4. Back on the ear corn, I just feed straight ear corn. It's not ground up. It's not shelled. It's just straight ear corn. Why don't you even go show them the ear corn?
Okay.
This is our grain room. So the ear corn, I just put it in a bucket. This is for my crib, and that's the ear corn. I have here my oats, and these old freezers work super for that. I think I can get about, if I remember right, I think 700 pounds in there at a time. That works really good to keep the mice away. So with the ear corn, I feel it's great to keep the weight on the horse. Also, I think it's really good for the teeth. I know a vet back in Vermont years ago, he would just say, you know, it's just a super feed to feed to help with ear. It helps them grind the ears, yeah, right. Helps them grind their teeth down by chewing on the ears. It's also interesting. Of my 4 horses, half of these horses will eat cobs and all. The other half will chew the kernels off the cob, and the cobs will stay in their buckets, and then I throw the cobs out. I don't some horses chew it all, some just chew the kernels. So that is number 4. Number 3, I gotta think here, make sure I get this somewhat right. Of course, there again, these are just my ideas of it all. Number 3 is their hay. I feed just straight first cutting hay. Very seldom do I feed them second cutting, and if I do, it's more of a treat. It's just a flake once in a while. Also, of my first cutting, I do not feed hardly any of my new seedings. My new seedings generally have more weeds in it, plus they have a lot more clover in it. And I don't want to feed them too much clover. The second and third year after new seeding, the clover has petered out quite a bit, so it's just that little mix of clover, which makes a great feed. This is just a handful of last year's hay. It's basically Timothy and a little bit of clover in there, and a few of your brome grasses, your natural grasses that come in naturally. So they got a nice, pretty green color considering. We got a little orchard grass in there, I see, right there. I'm not up on my grasses, so I can't really tell you exactly what they all are, but I don't want to feed too much of the legumes. I don't raise alfalfa, although I wish I could, but if I did, I wouldn't feed it to horses. Now I know out west, the people use alfalfa on their horses all the time. They have great luck with that, and that's great. But it scares me a little bit. So the clovers and the alfalfas, I do not feed to the horses, just straight grass hay. Got to be clean, absolutely no dusty hay. I'm very particular as to what I feed my horses for their hay. So that, I'm going to call that number 3. So number 2 is my oats. I have raised oats before. I haven't for a few years. I don't have a combine anymore. I have years ago I did, and there are a few guys around that have combines that I could hire it done, and I've done that before. But I usually will put oats in my new seeding every year, which I've already done this year, and I just cut it as a hay. So I have to buy my oats, which I don't like to do, but I usually buy like a ton at a time, so I get a little bit better deal by doing that. So it's nothing special about the oats, but that's what I like to feed. Maybe it's because that's what all the old timers did, I don't know, but I've had good luck with oats and ear corn. And all summer long, it's just straight oats. No, none of the sweet feeds, just straight whole oats. If they were rolled oats, that'd be better yet, but I don't really have that option, so I just go with the whole oats. I've had pretty good luck with that. I do feed according to their needs. If I see a horse that's lacking a little bit, now Lady here, for example, to me, she's in pretty darn good shape, but I don't know, I think she could have just a little bit more meat on her, so I'm putting the old oats right to her. Although this morning I logged with her. This is Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. I don't work on Sundays. Horses don't work on Sundays. They go outside, but they don't work. So this morning she was, as they say, feeling her oats. But you need to feed them to keep the weight on, and it's amazing how much more work you can get done if they've got a lot of oats and a lot of energy. Okay, so let's go on to Bill. So we come down to the number 1, and there again, this is my idea for the number 1. And my number 1 feeding ingredient for horses is water. Water is so important. I have had horses that have troubles with colic because they haven't had the proper amount of water. I have horses that go to the water tub and they don't drink. And just all the more the importance of making sure they get their water. So what I do is in the mornings I'll come out, and horses, you can tell they get used to a habit. And some horses won't drink first in the morning, some will. So what I'm doing right now is I would just hand grain them, and I'll come back out after I have my breakfast and water them. Even then, my Percherons, especially Ken, does not drink that well. So water is so important. So I have to make sure that that horse and all of them get water. Another thing I will do every night after I do chores, I will hand grain and water them, but I will always come back out about an hour and a half to 2 hours later and re-water them. To me, that's so important to get that water into them. I feel that a lot of horses are worked hard and underwatered, fed the best to feed, but underwatered, and they just don't look that good. So there you go. That's my thinking on the feeding, and number 1 to me is water. As you noticed when they came in today, usually when they come in from working a half a day, they'll drink quite a lot of water, and they've sweated a little bit, so I'm kind of surprised they did. But because they didn't drink any water, this is noontime, I'm not going to be working them this afternoon. I did everything I need to do with them for today. I've got other stuff to do this afternoon. But they didn't drink their water. So I will make darn sure that after I have my lunch, I'll come back out and I'll water them because they need their water, and for some reason they didn't at this point. So I got to make sure they will, and I will do that. Okay, so we'll get some grain. One other thing I forgot, when my horses are hot and they come in, especially when I'm haying, they get quite hot, of course. But when they come in and I water them, I will actually count swallows. I am very particular about if a horse is very hot and drinks a lot of water, they have the potential of getting quite sick. So they will come in and drink, and as they're drinking, I will actually count swallows. And it sounds kind of silly, but if they're really, really hot, 10 swallows and they're out of there. A lot of times it's 20 swallows. And when my kids were doing it for me, I'd say, I'd tell them how many swallows. So it was very important to me, still is very important to me. Also, I think it's really good to teach your horse, or I don't know if you really teach them, but if you leave their bridles on and let them drink with their bridles on, I think it slows them down. They won't drink quite so fast, and I think less apt to get sick. But even with the bridles on, I'll count swallows. Okay, let me get some grain, some oats. Okay, it varies all the time how much I feed. With hay, that's another thing I didn't explain. Generally, every horse will get half a bale of hay morning and night. So it's a bale a day. That, of course, depends on the size of the hay, but a general average bale, about a half a bale morning and night. And that's pretty well the same all the time. The oats, that varies a lot. Depends on how much they're working, depends on how they're looking. When they're working hard, they'll get 3 scoops. I mean, 1 scoop 3 times a day. And they'll get that pretty steadily. When they're logging during the wintertime, when they're really logging hard. In the summer months, when they're pushing really hard, doing the haying, and then I still log quite a bit during the summertime also. But right now, they haven't been working. I mean, they're doing a lot of half-a-days. So a lot of times they'll just get a half a scoop. And that's what they'll get right today. I'll probably give Bill will get a half a scoop, and the lady will get a full scoop. Just because she feels she needs a little bit more. So that's what we got. Okay, let me feed him and then we'll call it good. Another thing I do, just to save time, these two I would just leave lady, just reach over the side and dump into the lady's bucket. It's a little time saving for me. So anyways, that's it. I hope it's been beneficial for this little talk I've had with you. Like I said before, this is the way I like to look at things. People do it differently, and it's just different for everybody. So that's it for today. I hope I was clear as to how my thoughts are on feeding. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, and hope to see you in our next video.